if someone's a citizen, they would have certain rights. If someone's a guest, a visitor, for example, if they're a foreign citizen on a student visa, attending a university in Toronto or Vancouver or Montreal or New York, they're here as a guest. They don't have tenure here. And while the courts generally uphold that even guests have freedoms under our constitutions, they can be kicked out for much easier grounds. If someone is not a citizen, countries can exclude them for almost any reason because they don't have the same tenure, they don't have the same rights as citizens do. So I think one thing that we've seen is a call for foreign nationals who are here on student visas, who go to these hate rallies, to have their visas canceled. And in fact, you had a video up there 1 second ago. Let's play this video. Here's Ron DeSantis. This is from a few days ago, and then I'm going to show you an even more interesting thing he did. So here's Ron DeSantis talking about foreign nationals in the United States who are not citizens and who are not being good house guests. In fact, who are calling for the death of Jews, both in Israel and America. Here's Ron DeSantis.
And I think what this terrorist attack in Israel has shown us is we're vulnerable from all the people that have come illegally because they have come from Iran too. It's not just Mexico, yes, Central America, Russia, China, Middle East, all that stuff. But I think what we also saw when the blood wasn't even dry on the Israelis who had been massacred, you had people in America going out protesting in favor of Hamas.
Yes.
And that's like very chilling. Some of these people are not U.S. citizens. They're student visas. So as president, if you're on a student visa and you're a foreigner and you're out there celebrating terrorism, I'm canceling your visa and I'm sending you home. And I think what this...
I think that has to be done for sure. And we're starting a campaign called deporthamas.com for that exact purpose. But DeSantis put out a very interesting press release, and I'm going to talk about this more on my show tonight. He looked at anti-terrorism laws. Like, it's one thing to talk about hate speech, and we've seen more hate speech in Canadian streets in the last 3 weeks than we have in the last 30 years. We've seen absolute silence from Human Rights Commission. Show me the last Human Rights Commission in this country that's spoken out about what you've seen on the streets. None. They're silent. None. Not one. Tell me the anti-hate group or the race relations group. These are the folks who call everyone else a racist at the drop of a hat. Completely silent here. But the thing about anti-hate speech laws is you know they're going to be used against folks like you and me because it's in the eye of the government prosecutor. Hate speech is speech that they hate. I mean, really, every time freedom of speech is narrowed, it redounds to the benefit of the government, and it reduces the freedom of the citizen. But what if it's not just speech? I've shown you before the criminal code provisions. They make it a crime to participate, facilitate, instruct, or harbor terrorists. Those are the 4 categories of things you can't do if something's an official terrorist group. Participating, facilitating, instructing, and harboring. Every person who knowingly participates in or contributes to, directly or indirectly, an activity of a terrorist group for the purpose of enhancing the ability of any terrorist group to facilitate or carry out a terrorist activity is guilty of an indictable offense and liable to imprisonment for a term of not more than 10 years. And there's more details there. I won't go into it now. It's quite a long thing. You can find it yourself. It's so easy to find. Just type in criminal code terrorism provisions, and that pops up. So let me show you a press release put out by Ron DeSantis yesterday. It's actually, the version I have here is not from DeSantis or his campaign, and not from the government of Florida per se, but rather a branch of the government of Florida called the State University System of Florida. So in the United States, this is my understanding, there are state universities, there's city universities, and then there's independent, there's private universities. It's just different circuits, really. I presume the state universities are funded and directed and controlled by the state. That seems like common sense to me. Let me show you a memo sent to all state university presidents yesterday. And I'm going to go into some more detail on this tonight on the Ezra Levant show, but I'm going to read a little bit of this to you now. So this was to all state university presidents. If you want to put that memo up, and I'll just sort of read from it as we go. Deactivation of National Students for Justice in Palestine. During a holy Jewish holiday, the recognized terrorist organization, Hamas, launched an unprovoked attack on Israel, including those killed were babies, women, and the elderly. To date, approximately 1,400 Israelis have been killed, including 31 American citizens. Governor DeSantis, our state university system, and the Florida college system have condemned these attacks. Hamas is responsible for this attack and claims it as Operation Al-Aqsa Flood. So that's important because Hamas said, yeah, it was us. In the wake of the terror, military leaders of Hamas have called for the mobilization of Palestinians in support of the operation. Okay, so realize what he's saying here. Terrible terrorist attack. Hamas admits it was them, and they've called for helpers. Okay, you can see the direction this is going, right? Participate, facilitate, instruct, harbor. That's the Canadian version of the American. America has the same law. And then here we get into it. In response and leading up to a day of resistance, the National Students for Justice in Palestine released a toolkit which refers to Operation Al-Aqsa Flood as the resistance and unequivocally states, quote, Palestinian students in exile are part of this movement, not in solidarity with this movement. So they're saying, hey guys, you're not outside it, you're in it, get aboard. Well, how stupid is that? Imagine saying in public, we are going to be a part of this terrorist operation. Well, why not? They've been getting away with that sort of talk for years. In fact, I'm surprised. That's really not much more radical than we've heard from Ilhan Omar or Rashida Tlaib. Well, and then here he comes to his point. It is a felony under Florida law to, quote, knowingly provide material support to a designated foreign terrorist organization. And then they cite the Florida statute. Here, National SJP, that's the Students for Justice in Palestine, has affirmatively identified it as part of the Operation Al-Aqsa Flood, a terrorist-led attack. The State University System of Florida has at least 2 institutions with active national SJP chapters. These chapters exist under the headship of the National Students for Justice in Palestine, who distributed a toolkit identifying themselves as part of their Operation Al-Aqsa Flood, based on the National SJP support of terrorism in consultation with Governor DeSantis. The student chapters must be deactivated. These 2 student chapters may form another organization that complies with Florida state statutes and university policies. The 2 institutions should grant these 2 chapters a waiver for the fall deadlines should reapplication take place. In other words, and can you put up the, I think there's a second page there. Let me just call it up here on my own screen. So you'll see, I'll just wrap up. It's actually not that much more. Promoting excellent educational quality while providing a safe environment for all students is paramount. The state university system will continue working with the executive office, blah, blah, blah. Contact me if you have any questions. And there's some links, including to the, quote, toolkit. So it's an interesting case, and it really is a slam dunk, isn't it? If you say we are part of the terrorist attack, not in solidarity to it, help, here's a toolkit to help. Well, I mean, it's like you went through the criminal law and went check, 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 check all the way down the list. Now, again, I showed you the Canadian criminal code. Obviously, that is not the same in the U.S., But there is that Florida state law that the governor cited. So look at that. He hasn't deported them yet. And again, many of the members are probably American. That's what's so terrifying here, is it's not just extremists who have come from other countries. There are extremists in our own countries. But at the very least, to designate these student groups as illegal terrorist entities that must be deactivated, what does that do? First of all, that takes out those campus groups. Second of all, sure throws some cold water on some hotheads. What am I at? Third of all, it shows that standing up for Jews in the university campus against these anti-Semites is real and not just talk like it is with Trudeau. And fourth of all, I think it's a role model for other governors around the country, as Ron DeSantis so often is. Oh, hi, everybody. Did you know that every weekday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Mountain Time, we have a live stream where we talk about the news of the day, go over viral videos, hot tweets, hot takes, and we read your comments. In fact, if you make what's called a super chat or a Rumble rant of $5 or more, we'll read your comment on the air and respond to it. I've been doing a lot of these live streams lately, but when I'm not here, my friends Sheila Gunn Reid and David Menzies do it too, and they are way more fun than me. But either way, it is a good show, and it's a way to stay up to date with the news of the day in short, snappy updates. It's not scripted. It's a live stream, and it's fun. You can always watch us on Rumble on YouTube, or just go to rebelnews.com. That's every weekday at 1 p.m. Eastern. See you there.
Justin Trudeau's new censorship law, Bill C-18. It's a shakedown and a desperate attempt to keep the mainstream media afloat. Many have already lost their ability to access our Facebook and Instagram pages. The blackout will soon affect every user in Canada. We've partnered with Private Internet Access, a VPN provider dedicated to safeguarding digital privacy. For just $2 a month, you can maintain your access to our content across all your devices at piavpn.com/rebelnews.